Manufactured for home wireless internet by J.D. Power.
Wow, you are good.
Try singing it. T-Mobile has price lock.
They won't raise your rate on internet.
Hulu and Paramount Plus on them.
Get T-Mobile home internet all in for just $55 a month with auto pay and any postpaid voice line.
Additional terms apply. For J.D. Power 2024 award information, visit jdpower.com/awards.
Still getting around to that fix on your car? You got this. On eBay, you'll find millions of parts guaranteed to fit. Doesn't matter if it's a major engine repair or your first time swapping your windshield wipers. eBay has that part you need, ready to click perfectly into place for changes big and small. Loud or quiet, find all the parts you need at prices you'll love. Guaranteed to fit every time. But you already know that. eBay. Things, people, love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
Mornings can start feeling the same. Wake up, brush teeth, go to work. But with breakfast from Wendy's, it's like, wake up, brush teeth, Baconate with a breakfast Baconator. Roll with the sausage breakfast burrito. Buddy it up with a honey buddy. Or get seasoned with seasoned potatoes. And then go to work. Sorry. When you're ready for a fresh wake-up call, gotta be Wendy's.
At participating U.S. Wendy's during breakfast hours.
The KFH Studios, powered by Devon James Injury Lawyers. Call 888-8888.
That's 888-8888.
Traffic conditions in Wichita right now looking pretty good. Traffic volumes just now picking up. Got some fairly heavy traffic in Wichita right now near Harry and Hillside, especially eastbound on Harry there. Traffic update from 98.7 and 1330 KNSS. I'm Jad Chambers.
Weather.
Fire danger not as high Tuesday. More sunshine on the way. Not too chilly this morning, followed by another warm high of 74 degrees. Now, there still is going to be a bit of a breeze at times. It's just not going to be as strong as yesterday. With your Storm Track 3 forecast, I'm meteorologist Rana Williams.
Hey, it's Tommy Castro from Sports Daily. You can take KFH Radio with you anywhere you go. Listen right now on the Odyssey app.
Kansas Fan Headquarters, 97.5 and 1240 KFH Wichita, KNSS HD2 Clearwater, an Odyssey sports station.
Hey Wichita, it's Jacob Albrock. Stay right there for the latest breaking in sports talk. It's Sports Daily coming up next exclusively on 97.5 and 1240 KFH.
I'm Omar Reese with NFL Network Now on the Westwood One Radio Network. The free agency negotiating window officially opened Monday. The Seahawks and quarterback Sam Darnold agreeing to a 3-year, $100.5 million deal with $55 million guaranteed, according to the NFL Network insiders. In the meantime, the Jets are signing quarterback Justin Fields to a 2-year, $40 million contract with $30 million guaranteed for Ian Rappaport and Tom Pelissero. The Steelers acquiring receiver DK Metcalf from the Seahawks in exchange for a 2025 second-round pick. Metcalf, in turn, is signing a 4-year, $132 million deal with Pittsburgh, also reported by Rappaport and Pelissero. The Rams agreeing to terms with receiver Devontae Adams on a 2-year, $46 million deal with $26 million guaranteed. And the Panthers are signing cornerback J.C. Horn to a 4-year, $100 million extension, making him the highest-paid defensive back in the league. This has been NFL Network Now on the Westwood One Radio Network.
All right, when it comes to getting life insurance for your family, a lot of excuses can get in the way. But ask yourself this. If something were to happen to me, who would pay the mortgage, the kids' education, and the other bills? Then forget the excuses and check out Ethos Life, the online, easy way to get life insurance in 10 minutes. Ethos has rates that you can afford, like a $500,000 policy for a 40-year-old male starting at $1 a day or $30 a month with a few health questions and no medical exam. Get your free quote right now at checkethos.com. That's checkethos.com. Not available in all states. Rates do vary.
Are you a parent of a 2 to 8-year-old? Listen closely for an exciting offer, then head to abcmouse.com/radio to learn more. By now, you've probably heard of ABC Mouse.
ABC Mouse is like a little one-on-one teacher. It has helped her so much.
We're offering a promo at abcmouse.com/radio to try it for free for a month, then $14.99 per month until canceled. Go to abcmouse.com/radio to see this offer. That's abcmouse.com/radio. Actual ABC Mouse users compensate for their testimonials, sponsored by Age of Learning.
Now, from Wichita's most listened to sports radio, 97.5 and 1240 KFH. This is Sports Daily with Jacob Albrock and Tommy Kester.
Well, hey, good morning, everybody. Happy Tuesday to you. It is a game day for the college basketball postseason. K-State gets us started on the men's side tonight. We'll preview the Cats as they get round 3 with Arizona State out in Kansas City for the Big 12 tournament. That's coming up on the show today. And listen, we're gonna spend some time here trying to keep up with what's been going on in the NFL. A lot of things happening for the Chiefs and a lot of things happening across the league with some other bombs still to be dropped here pretty soon, probably at the quarterback position. But it has been a wild and crazy start to the free agency season. It's been a really fun offseason, to be honest with you. A fascinating one, an interesting one. We'll do our best to break it down. I'm Jacob Albrock alongside Tommy Kester. Max Power is here producing for us today. He's got the hotline on KFH at 869-1240. If you're listening to us on 97.5 FM, 1240 AM. We've got your video comments coming. Our comments on 12 News Plus, on Facebook, on YouTube, on X, and of course on the Odyssey app. You can leave us your voice messages. A little microphone there. Thanks, everybody, for taking in the show every way that you can. We'll give away some HTO today, so stay tuned for that. We've got our Chiefs insider, Felix Johnson, coming up in the next hour. He will help us navigate all the things the Chiefs have done, which is a significant amount of things that we'll get into. Tommy, good morning. How are you?
Hey, how are you? Good to see you. Happy Tuesday. Of course, as always, a lot to get to as we get into championship week. Big 12 tournament kicks off today with the opening rounds, as you mentioned. Looking forward to all of that. I mean, we're into postseason basketball, and really the only thing that, is sort of taking precedent over that is all the free agency news across the NFL. You and I were talking last night. I told you, I know that there's always a lot of moves this time of year in the NFL, but for some reason it feels like this year there's more than anything else. I just feel like more than any other year, at least, it's like fast and furious. Things are coming up and I can't keep track of all of it. I'm not even going to try. Like, I tried to catch up on everything yesterday. I'm just going to wait until the dust settles and then get a recap of everything.
Well, so there are free agency trackers that you can sort of look at it at a bird's eye. That's what I'm trying to do. The other thing that makes it a little crazy this year is it's kind of, it's new salary cap, which means there's kind of a lot of funny money. So it's like, oh, that's a huge deal. And then you look and you're like, well, maybe it's actually not a huge deal in relative terms. It's a pretty normal deal. So we'll do our best to navigate it all. And of course, as the Chiefs find their left tackle, as the Chiefs make a move at running back, it sort of adds to what they've done. And it's going to be interesting in this offseason to look at everything in totality. When last season was happening, I do, and I've said this before, I think we were underplaying the task at hand for the Chiefs this offseason. They have a lot of really key pieces, quite frankly, going into free agency that they're needing to either bring back or find replacements for. As they, extend the short-term window, but try to take care of the long-term window with Patrick Mahomes as well. So this is a big one for Brett Veach. And navigating that is interesting. And we're seeing money thrown around all kinds of places. The Chiefs feel more like they're just kind of trying to survive the offseason a little bit, but they're doing it aggressively. And you love to see that because you've got those decisions being made, and then you have other decisions being made that we question. Myles Garrett on a massive new deal for a team that we don't think will contend. Look at the Dallas Cowboys. Cowboys they're the laughing stock of the NFL again.
Yeah, how about those Cowboys? How about those Cowboys not doing anything hardly at all?
You watch your mouth about Jimmy Johnson, the great Jimmy Johnson, as he retires in the last couple of weeks. You just be careful about him. We'll protect that hair.
No, I don't have anything against Jimmy Johnson at all. I mean, they've not done.
You're mocking his. How about them Cowboys?
I mean, come on. How about that's the phrase, right? How about them Cowboys? I mean, what'd you tell me yesterday? They re-signed their long snapper.
Yeah, I'm being sensitive because it's outrageous. They just freed up like $60 million with a restructure for Dak and CeeDee Lamb. And they haven't done anything. I mean, they brought back a good player that was already on the team. That was significant. And And then they got their long
They made a move last night, and I don't remember what it was because it was really inconsequential. I was going to look up. It was very, very. It was a small deal. I'm going to have to try to find it because they signed an offensive
Williams.
They signed Javonte Williams. They did that. Okay. And then they signed Rob Jones, who was a free agent offensive lineman.
Who's that?
He played for the Dolphins, a 1 year, $4.75 million deal.
It's a big, massive, earth-shaking move. They're running out of time. Maybe Justin Reed will be available as it pertains to the Chiefs. But no, so the point of that is you've got teams that, for whatever reason, are not involved in the frenzy early on. And this isn't one of those patience pays off things. The NFL offseason is not that way. Like, we've got the vast majority of the top free agents all are signed, and I believe the signing window started yesterday. Okay? So, that work has been done a long time ago for the teams that know what they're doing. So, you've got teams like the Cowboys who clearly do not. And then you've got teams like the Chiefs with limited resources who have made a ton of changes and a ton of moves to try to do what they can do. So I think Chiefs fans, at least at the point of aggression, should be satisfied. Now they've still got to get the players right. And that's what we'll discuss today as they get their left tackle, as they make a couple of moves, as they make a switch at running back a little bit to some degree. A lot of little things happening for the Chiefs as they make big decisions and look ahead. And, right now they still have big time decisions to make just to kind of get in the cap. I think technically Max is our resident cap expert, but as I see it, they're still way over the number. So they still have work to do in that world to bring those cap numbers down to, to get to the place where they need to be before the season starts. And I think they'll have to do that, obviously. So you've got restructures that they've still got to get done because that's the only way they're going to do it unless they have cuts that we don't know about. But they still wouldn't even be able to cut enough to hit because I think they're $20 million over right now. But they have massive restructures with Patrick Mahomes, for Jones, maybe even Jawan Taylor. Who knows?
Yeah, $22 million over the cap, according to Max this morning. I think that, and I know we're going to get more into the Chiefs as the show goes on. It's hard for me to think that when this is all said and done and the dust settles in free agency, that we'll look at the Chiefs roster, at least their starters, and we'll say, yep, that's a better team than what they had a year ago. So I think that it's going to have to be obviously improving through the draft. And then even then, I think they're going to have to be, and we've talked about this quite a bit during the offseason, there's going to need to be some scheme changes, some decisions on exactly the way that they play, how they utilize their talent, that sort of thing, because what we saw, especially in the Super Bowl, at least to me, indicated that it was more than just personnel. It was the way, especially the offense is ran and things like that I think need to be improved upon. So it's going to have to be multifaceted, because with the way that they've got limitations at the cap, their roster after the free agency period is not going to be objectively better than it was a year ago. Can they get better through the draft? Can they get better schematically? I think those are the big questions.
I think that they almost certainly will be better offensively and almost certainly will not be as good defensively. So we'll just leave that as a little taste of my thought on that, because I agree with you. Let's take a break here. We're going to get you set up for everything. Thanks to Prairie Fire Coffee for keeping us fueled up today on Sports Daily and every day. But we're going to do that. We'll come back. What did the Chiefs do yesterday? What do we think of those moves? That's next on Sports Daily.
66 counties, 4 regions, and 1 weather team that you can trust. Find Storm Team 12 every weekday at 5:30 on the KSCW. Whatever the weather and wherever you are, Storm Team 12 is zooming in, going zone by zone to give you a more in-depth look at the forecast and some science behind the storms so you know more. We're focusing on the forecast so you can focus on what's important to you. Storm Team 12 Weather Focus, 5:30 on the KSCW.
The future of television has arrived. Next Gen TV is here with stunning video, movie theater quality sound, enhanced voice clarity, and interactive features, all upgradable for the future. Learn more at watchnextgentv.com.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea. With 20 plus flavors of sweet and unsweet iced tea, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite, or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say, drink tea, be happy.
It's the canvas of our imagination. They tell a story. Clouds affect the events of your day. Sometimes they growl, sometimes they inspire, but they're always the messengers of nature's mood written in the sky. Storm Team 12 understands the language of clouds. We're dedicated to decoding their message so you know what to expect. Behind every cloud, there is a story waiting to be told. Trust Ross Jansen and Storm Team 12, alerting you first to the impact on your life.
When you need help, remember, you're not alone. We are here. We are neighbors. We are together. We are Kansas. We are 12 News.
What is GMFB overtime?
It's Peter, Jamie, Kyle, and Akbar breaking down the NFL 5 days a week.
It's okay to be excited.
It's this, that, and a whole lot of... Oh! It's football for everyone.
Weekdays at 10 a.m. on KSCW.
Are following a breaking update.
Every day, all day, stream the stories that have you talking near and far.
Whoever is behind the wheel of this bus is not stopping.
From hundreds of local reporters and meteorologists spanning the country.
Chaos here this morning at the UW campus.
Search LNL for the all-new Local News Live streaming app.
Make yourself known now.
310-01 in traffic pursuit.
Oh my God, here.
Investigate TV Plus begins with real people.
We investigate stories that impact you
and inspire change every day.
Something is broken.
Real problems.
Why are they hiding it?
And real solutions.
My daughter was dying in front of me.
What was your reaction when he said that?
Investigate TV Plus, weekdays at 3:30 p.m. on KWCH.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea. With 20 plus flavors of sweet and unsweet iced tea, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite, or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say, drink tea, be happy.
Mornings are busy. We're here to make your mornings better. We report the stories that affect you.
3 more hospital lies from contaminated apple juice just a day after the FDA issue a recall.
We're here to make your mornings better.
Closing east and westbound lanes of K96 for repairs.
With 12 News, you're prepared for your whole day.
Scattered thunderstorms across the state into the afternoon.
Stay a step ahead with 12 News this morning on KWCH and KSCW.
Daily on KFH.
All right, welcome back in, everybody. It is Sports Daily. Jacob Albrock, Tommy Castor here. Glad to have you with us on the show today and every day. KState basketball in the Big 12 tournament tonight here on KFH starts at 5 with your pregame coverage. You can tune in to 97.5 and 1240 KFH tonight. It's KState, it's Arizona State. Listen online at kfhradio.com. Download the free Odyssey app and search for KFH if you want to listen All right. We are talking Chiefs now. Felix Johnson, our Chiefs insider, will join us in about an hour. Tommy, the big one yesterday was Jalen Moore. It's interesting. We pointed out here that the reports were they were going to go after one of the Moores, the one from Pittsburgh or the one from San Francisco, when they lost out on Ronnie Stanley. We've talked ad nauseum about Ronnie Stanley because he was widely considered the top tackle on the market. The Chiefs were targeting him. We thought they were targeting him. It's been reported that they were targeting him. We wondered why the Ravens would let him go. Well, the Ravens didn't let him go. They re-signed him. All right. Now what's the plan? Because you had already traded Joe Thuney in order to free up money, not only to, keep Trey Smith, which I still think is coming, but to do something at left tackle. You got to pivot. What was the pivot? Hollywood Brown, 1-year deal. Nick Bolton, extension. Okay. They're shifting the money. They're reacting. They're being reactive and proactive, I should say, in what they do. And then yesterday, pretty quickly, they go get Jalen Moore. And we see it, and we're like, okay, reasonable deal. Was about $15 million a year for a couple of years?
Yeah, two-year, $30 million deal.
I'm like, okay, that's all right. We look at him, and we see a guy, and we'll get into him specifically. And then you see what the other Moore, who came from Pittsburgh came from, and he went for about, 20, 25 million a year. And it's like, wait a minute. Maybe that was a frugal move because, Jalen Moore is a little more unproven, but he grades out well, which again, we'll get into in just a second. But all right, that looks like a pretty frugal deal and an option at left tackle. There's your reaction. And I think I'm satisfied there. He's going to enter a room that's going to be a question no matter what happens. Even if it was Ronnie Stanley, there were going to be questions there because of how big an impact that position had on this team last year. And Stanley's an injury-prone guy. So it's like, okay, do they have enough there? Do they have enough there? Well, we're still going to ask that question because their backup plan is gone. Joe Thuney's gone. They still got to find a left guard, which we think will come internal, but they bring Jalen Moore in. But it's more like, would you rather have Ronnie Stanley or would you rather have Jalen Moore, Nick Bolton, and Marquise Brown? I think is the right way to look at it sort of at the beginning. Now, they may have been able to keep one of those other guys with Stanley based on just the numbers, but we saw almost immediately these things happen after Stanley came off the market. So that was, Stanley may have been plan A. Here's plan B. I'm not so sure, Tommy, that I don't like plan B better than plan A. Ronnie Stanley would have been nice, but he's hurt a lot, right? He's an older player, and he's hurt a lot. He's 30. He's a really good pass blocker. Really good pass blocker. Jalen Moore, in limited time, I think he played 217 snaps last year, gave up 1 sack, and had 0 penalties. That's a positive, right? And he grades out, sort of middle of the pack in pass blocking, which is certainly better than what they've had. He's a good run blocker, but overall, his grade is in the top half of tackles in the league. So it feels kind of like Orlando Brown, honestly. That's sort of what it feels like. Now, he's got a whole lot more to prove than Orlando Brown did when he came over because Jalen Moore has spent a lot of his time as a backup, but a backup to a Hall of Fame tackle in Trent Williams. So I don't want to hold that against him. I think the Niners just had some nice depth there because by all accounts, Jalen Moore filled in admirably when Trent Williams was down. But I'm satisfied with it. I'm okay with it. I like the move. I like the reaction when Stanley came off the board. I think the Chiefs did a nice job here.
I am cautiously optimistic, I think, about this move. And I think it's only mainly because we don't have a huge sample size in what Jalen Moore has done or what he could do. So if he can continue to make the progress that he made in San Francisco, and by all accounts, again, it looks like he has steadily progressed and improved. But, I've even seen some chatter from 49ers fans that have said that the Niners did a poor job of developing him. But I think that a lot of that's because he was behind Trent Williams, for his entire time with the Niners and didn't really get an opportunity to flourish. But you would think that from studying under a guy like Trent Williams, being his understudy, being his backup, that should help him continue to develop in Kansas City. I think, going back to your point about plan A versus plan B, I don't know if I would say I like plan B better. I think plan B has more upside than plan A does, potentially. Plan A, you've got more proven commodities, whether or not, like take the injury history of Ronnie Stanley out of the picture. You've got more proven commodities, I would say, in that plan with Ronnie Stanley coming back. I would say probably in the plan A scenario, Joe Tooney sticks around, but Trey Smith walks. Like there's more veteran presence there in plan A. In plan B, I think the upside is significantly higher because you're keeping younger guys. You're keeping Trey Smith, at least for this season, if not long term. You're bringing back Nick Bolton. You're bringing back Hollywood Brown. And now, of course, it looks like they're going to move in Kingsley Suamataia to left guard, and you've got a guy in Jalen Moore playing left tackle. It's more unproven, but the upside, I think, is significantly higher than what plan A would have been. So in that regard, I don't know if I would say I'm satisfied necessarily about all the moves, but I think I'm cautiously optimistic.
So I think Joe Tooney was happening either way. I think Joe Tooney was strictly a Trey Smith decision. I think when I say plan A, it's the left tackle plan. The left tackle plan, I think coming in, plan A was Ronnie Stanley. Plan B, clearly Jalen Moore was a part of it with the quick nature of how fast they signed him. But I think that's where you throw Bolton and Hollywood in. So when I weigh the two outcomes, I think it's as simple as Stanley or Moore, Bolton, Hollywood Brown. I'm going to lean to the latter on that. Ronnie Stanley's fine. I think Ronnie Stanley's value is being inflated a little bit.
Well, his value is being gauged by the market. Like that's really what
exactly.
I think
his age and his injury history tell us that in some and now the left tackle, it's just hard to find left tackles, right? We obviously know that well. So, in totality, if we're making a call today, obviously we need to see this play out with Jalen Moore. But if we're making a call today, I'm going to take plan B. I didn't know what plan B was until yesterday, but I'll take it because I think Hollywood Brown makes this team better. And I think that, Nick Bolton is pretty critical to bridging the gap in what will have to be a younger defense right this year than the last couple. And it's just like having him back, I think, is a win for the Chiefs. I think some of the narrative I saw when people signed, when the Chiefs signed Hollywood and Bolton, when people were a little bit angry, like the Chiefs diehards, because those are positions you don't typically pay up for. And Trey Smith's part of that too. I think that has died down now that they've seen the option that the Chiefs brought in at left tackle. Listen, the Chiefs are kind of 1 for 2 on this in bringing in players that haven't really played a lot of left tackle. I would say it was a success with Orlando Brown, and I would say it was a failure with Jawan Taylor, because Jawan Taylor's never even played left tackle, even though that was the plan. So they're 50-50 on this plan. Bring in a more outside the box option for a guy that hasn't started out there. And so
Jalen Moore is not either Orlando Brown or Jawan Taylor. They view him as an ascending young player, somebody that hasn't had the opportunity to shine.
That's exactly how they identified both of those guys when they brought him over. Ascending young
Orlando
players.
Brown and Jawan Taylor, that's how they evaluated those guys. Those two guys were both proven. Those two guys were both proven offensive linemen that had started.
They were proven right tackles. They hadn't played left tackle.
I'm not talking about the position. I'm talking about they were well-known commodities in the NFL in general.
I'm talking about position. I'm talking about playing left tackle.
Jalen Moore has started 7 total games in the course of his 4 seasons. They view him as underrated and ascending. Orlando Brown and Jawan Taylor neither were underrated or ascending. They were guys that played right tackle that the Chiefs were trying to plug into a hole in a position that they had never played before. That's not Jalen Moore. Jalen Moore was the backup understudy behind Trent Williams, started 7 games. They view him as being somebody that can be a starter in the NFL at left tackle. And it wasn't because he'd been playing right tackle for the last 4 years. He had been behind
I know what position they played. I'm saying they're taking somebody who has not been a left tackle. Like they're not.
Jalen Moore's been a left tackle
for 7 games. I'm talking about a typical free agent who has spent we have a large sample size of a player at left tackle like Ronnie Stanley would have been or anything else They have gone outside the box to fit. All I'm saying is they've done different things at that position than to just go sign a left tackle, traditional, whatever you want to call it. And I like this one. And quite frankly, with as difficult as we've seen it be, both to evaluate them out of the draft and find them in free agency, I don't mind it. I don't mind it. Like, I think it's a good idea. Again, I haven't watched Jalen Moore play at all. Like, this is all guesswork, but I like the resume, right? I like the grades that we see, and we'll find out. I'm just saying the option here is a pretty good one that we obviously didn't see because we were so laser focused on Ronnie Stanley, and it wasn't going to be Cam Robinson, who is the next, probably the next highest paid free agent that will get paid at tackle. It was a guy like this, and it's like, okay, could it be a failure? Sure it could. Sure it could. It's not going to be like a Jawan Taylor failure because he's going to play left tackle. Jalen Moore will start next season at left tackle.
If it ends up being a failure, I think there could be a possibility that we see changes on both ends of the line after next season, because I know that even though it's a 2-year deal for Jalen Moore, they can get out of it after year one. And there will be a cap hit, but it won't be a massive cap hit. So they could get out of it if it doesn't work this season with Jalen Moore. And then Jawan Taylor, I mean, I think it's pretty much a given at this point that they will get out of his contract after next season and move away from that. So I think at the very minimum, after next season, you're going to see the Chiefs go after a different right tackle. And then if it doesn't work, with Jalen Moore, then they can make a change there also. But again, I'm not going to put him in the same category as Jawan Taylor or as Orlando Brown, because it's a completely different situation. Those two guys positionally were unproven, whereas while Jalen Moore has been a backup and hasn't started a bunch of games, he's been a left tackle. Like, he knows how to play left tackle. Those two guys, you were moving them to the complete opposite end of the line. And it was a huge gamble because neither one of them had really done that. Jawan Taylor never played a game for the Chiefs at left tackle. So it's a completely different situation. They view Jalen Moore as a guy that, I think without Trent Williams in San Francisco, he could have been and probably would have been the starter at left tackle, and they feel like he would have been a good one. And so they feel like he can step in and be that guy next season for Kansas City. Time will tell if that ends up being the right move or not. But again, the market was relatively limited. I've seen some chatter from folks that, because one of the other moves that was made, I believe it was yesterday, if not over the weekend, was that the Commanders traded for Laramie Tunsil. And so there was some chatter that, look, if the Commanders were able to get a guy like Laramie Tunsil, the Chiefs could have traded for somebody like him, or Laramie Tunsil specifically. But that's not the Chiefs' MO. That's not how they were going to go and approach.
Look at what the Commanders had to give up there, right? And you've got two franchises in very different positions. The Commanders are going all in the sense that it's been a long time and they're trying to capture the momentum and they know they have to do something. I get what the Commanders are doing, but trading a second, a third, and a fourth for Laramie Tunsil, that's a lot, right? It's a big haul for Houston. Now, I'm sure CJ Stroud disagrees, but that's a pretty big return for Houston that they can do a lot with. The Chiefs don't need to do something like that. They have too many other things. They're proven. They're set. They don't have to push it all in because they know they're going to always have a chance to win with Patrick Mahomes. So I like that move for Washington, but that would have been a lot for the Chiefs.
And then you mentioned
first and trading a second and third and a fourth are very different things.
Yeah, you mentioned as well in our first segment about how after the Jalen Moore news came down, the Titans spent a bunch of money on the other free agent offensive lineman, Dan Moore, who came from the Steelers. They paid a bunch. It was like $50 million for Dan Moore, which I think softens the blow when you look at what the Chiefs did at Jalen Moore. And really the difference in the salaries between those two guys comes down to starting experience. The Chiefs are rolling the dice a little bit for a guy that has started 12 games in his 4 years in Jalen Moore, versus Dan Moore, who has started consistently at left tackle for the Steelers over the last 4 years. So the Titans paid that premium for that proven starter experience, but Dan Moore has been an average left tackle as a starter in the league. They paid a lot of money for an average left tackle in the league. So I will say I do like the Jalen Moore upside and signing better than what the Titans paid for Dan Moore.
And I'm not sure, honestly, at age and I'm not sure that I don't like it more than Ronnie Stanley. Not that I think Jalen Moore is going to be better than Ronnie Stanley, but circumstantially, it makes a lot of sense. You're not, there's a long history injury. There's age with Stanley. The production is very similar. They just need Jalen Moore to be an average left tackle. That's all they need. Right?
I've said this before. I said this a couple of weeks ago that, really all the Chiefs need at left tackle is somebody who can be competent in pass blocking. That's it, because they're not a team that is going to run the ball down your throat.
Well, they're not going to run it to the outside.
Right. And they don't need a lockdown, consistent, run stopper at left tackle. That's not what they will utilize that person for. They just need them to competently pass block and not get a bunch of penalties. That's literally all they're looking for. And can Jalen Moore fill those shoes? The jury is out, but I think the potential is absolutely there, more so than I would say you bring in last season an unproven Kingsley Suamataia and throw him into that role in week 1 when he's never done it before. So while it is a roll of the dice with Jalen Moore, it's less of one than what they started out with a year ago at left tackle.
For sure. And hopefully it works out for them. It's a wide range of things. It also has an impact potentially on the draft. I'm not sure that left tackle isn't still the best option in the draft. It's just to have more bodies there. But, with Hollywood Brown's re-signing and with Nick Bolton's re-signing, they have their backup plan at safety if and when Justin Reed walks. They think they have their plan all across the line. They are putting themselves in a position. This is the other reason I like the option of more Hollywood Nick Bolton, is because they really can walk into this draft without a defined and clear need on the roster. Probably pass rusher is the biggest need. I would say
love to see an edge rusher go
at this point. And it's a deep class in that category, or at least we think it is. The option to move up now to get one of those guys becomes probably more doable than it would have been for left tackle if there really are, because we know what's going to happen, right? Eventually, both quarterbacks are going to go early. These tackles are going to go early. The wide receivers, there's a handful of those will go early. So those edge rushers may get pushed down a little bit. And the Chiefs desperately need to replace Charles Omenihu. Badly. And who knows what will happen with George Karlaftis. So that's probably the biggest need there. We'll get into that. And then they made another move yesterday of significance at running back. Still a lot to get to with the day in the NFL. We'll go through some of the other moves as well. We've got a KState game to preview tonight. Felix Johnson is going to join us in the next hour to talk more Chiefs. It's all coming on a busy Tuesday here on Sports Daily. Stick around.
66 counties, 4 regions, and 1 weather team that you can trust. Find Storm Team 12 every weekday at 5:30 on the KSCW. Whatever the weather and wherever you are, Storm Team 12 is zooming in, going zone by zone to give you a more in-depth look at the forecast and some science behind the storms so you know more. We're focusing on the forecast so you can focus on what's important to you. Storm Team 12 Weather Focus, 5:30 on the KSCW.
The future of television has arrived. Next Gen TV is here with stunning video, movie theater quality sound, enhanced voice clarity, and interactive features, all upgradable for the future. Learn more at watchnextgentv.com.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea. With 20 plus flavors of sweet and unsweet iced tea, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite, or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say, drink tea, be happy.
It's the canvas of our imagination. They tell a story. Clouds affect the events of your day. Sometimes they growl, sometimes they inspire, but they're always the messengers of nature's mood written in the sky. Storm Team 12 understands the language of clouds. We're dedicated to decoding their message so you know what to expect. Behind every cloud, there is a story waiting to be told. Trust Ross Jansen and Storm Team 12, alerting you first to the impact on your life.
When you need help, remember, you're not alone. We are here. We are neighbors. We are together. We are Kansas. We are 12 News.
What is GMFB Overtime?
It's Peter, Jamie, Kyle, and Akbar breaking down the NFL 5 days a week.
It's okay to be excited.
It's this, that, and a whole lot of It's football for everyone.
Weekdays at 10 a.m. on KSCW.
Are following a breaking update.
Every day, all day, stream the stories that have you talking near and far.
Whoever is behind the wheel of this bus is not stopping.
From hundreds of local reporters and meteorologists spanning the country.
Chaos here this morning at the UW campus.
Search LNL for the all-new Local News Live streaming app.
Make yourself known now.
310-01 in traffic pursuit.
Oh my God, here.
Investigate TV Plus begins with real people.
We investigate stories that impact you.
And inspire change every day.
Something is broken.
Real problems.
Why are they hiding it?
And real solutions.
My daughter was dying in front of me.
What was your reaction when he said that?
Investigate TV Plus, weekdays at 3:30 p.m. on KWCH.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea. With 20 plus flavors of sweet and unsweet iced tea, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say drink tea, be happy.
Mornings are busy. We're here to make your mornings better. We report the stories that affect you.
3 more hospital lies from contaminated apple juice just a day after the FDA issued a recall.
We're here to make your mornings better.
Closing east and westbound lanes of K96 for repairs.
With 12 News, you're prepared for your whole day.
Scattered thunderstorms across the state into the afternoon.
Stay a step ahead with 12 News this morning on KWCH and KSCW.
Welcome back, everybody. You want to win some HTO? You can do it right now. 26 flavors to choose from. You got new Poppy creations that have been very, very popular. They take some of the Poppy sodas that have grown and mix it up with some tea and come up with some cool stuff. But we're going to give you a chance to win some just good old-fashioned iced tea right here. More than 26 flavors to choose from. You can get a cup of that on us right now by texting the keyword tea to the short code 20357. You can enter once per day message and data rates apply. Those are good for East Wichita, West Wichita, or Derby. Welcome back in. We're talking Chiefs here. The other move of significance yesterday, Tommy, comes at running back for the Kansas City Chiefs. So, we see on one hand, we see Samaje Perine step out the door and go back to the Bengals. Okay. And then they bring in Elijah Mitchell. I don't think I like it. I don't like it. Not because they lost Perine, but because Mitchell has been so injury prone. Let me say this. I don't like it if that's all they do at running back, because now you've got an injury prone Elijah Mitchell who is explosive. I get it. But man, that dude is always hurt. Like, he makes Jerick McKinnon look like Frank Gore as far as durability goes, right? Mitchell is always hurt. With Isaiah Pacheco coming off a significant injury, I don't know that that's enough for me, Tommy. I know that's an easy position to create depth at, but I would like to see another running back of significance on this route, whether that's through the draft, whether that's through free agency. I don't really care. but I don't think that's enough what they currently have back there.
I would be shocked if that's the only running back move that they make this offseason. It would absolutely floor me if that's the case, because Elijah Mitchell is nothing more than a shot in the dark for the Chiefs at running back, nothing more than a lottery ticket at running back for the Chiefs. Doesn't mean that he can't be dynamic. It doesn't mean that he can't be helpful, impactful even for the Chiefs, but we don't know that. He didn't play at all in the 2024 season. So he's coming off of an injury that cost him the entire year last year. We just don't know. We don't know what his health looks like.
And he's missed like at least half of every season since he's been.
There's no way that they will roll into the season. And by the way, remember, the running game was pedestrian last year for Kansas City, and the offense in general was league average. There's no way that the Chiefs look at that in the running back room and say, you know what? Let's not bring back Kareem Hunt. Let's not bring back Samaje Perine, and let's replace them both with Elijah Mitchell, and we'll just call that good, and we'll think the running back room will be better. There's no way that they're just going to stop there. I wouldn't be shocked if they attack it through the draft, and that could very well be an early round draft pick. That could be like a second round draft pick or something, where they then have a tandem of Pacheco, of Mitchell, and whoever a rookie running back is, and hope that person can hit. I just have a hard time believing that they'll sign Mitchell and then just be done at that position.
So then the question becomes, what do they do, right? What do they do at that position then? And I think that gets interesting, right? Do you bring in another free agent? Do you attack it in the draft, which is probably the better option? A guy like Rico Dowdle is still out there. I think that's a little much for what they need. A guy like J.K. Dobbins is out there, which could be very interesting, quite frankly. I don't know that they'll have the money for him either based on what he showed. Be a little surprised if he doesn't end up back with the Chargers. But there are some options out there in free agency for sure. But if they make a play on Mitchell, I would say the chances that it's another free agent are low. I think it'll be through the draft. And I'm okay with that. Again, so that kind of takes us back to the conversation we were having. What do you do with the draft now for the Chiefs, right? You're down there at 31. You can't control anything at 31. I think they've done a nice job to put themselves back into a position to not need anything in the draft. They need a pass rusher. They'll get pass rushers in the draft. They will. They'll probably take 2 or 3 at least. So, okay. But I think what it really opens the door for them to do is to move up. If they're going to be in a good spot, if they like anybody in the first round, like if they really have, like if they have not same position, obviously, so take position out of what I'm going to say here. But if they have a Patrick Mahomes, right, a player that they love, that maybe everybody else doesn't love the way that they love, I do think this is a draft now, in the totality of the things that we've seen them do, that they would be able to sacrifice a few later picks in the draft to move up a little bit in the first to go get whatever player that is. And I do have no problem with best player available. I mean, I think that's the old BPA mentality for the Chiefs about right in this draft now, because it's not going to be left tackle, I don't think. It's not going to be wide receiver now. It's probably not going to be running back. Not going to be linebacker now. It's not going to be a safety because they already have their plan there. Could be another corner if he's BPA. Could be a pass rusher, I think would be the most likely outcome. Could be another offensive line. They just have a lot of options here. And if you have a lot of options and you don't have as many clear needs, maybe it is the time to move up in a draft and go get somebody you really like.
Yeah, and I get that need. I mean, because remember, as we talked about at length, it's going to be extremely important for the Chiefs, not only from a roster building perspective, whether through free agency or the draft, but just also game plan wise and scheme wise. They've got to try to find some ways to reinvent the way that they're doing things, at least the way that they've done things over the last couple of years. The fact, and I mentioned this a moment ago, the fact that the offense for Kansas City last season was pedestrian at best, it was average at best for Kansas City, is a supreme waste of Patrick Mahomes' abilities and talent. So they've got to have the pieces around him to be able to, not only from a roster perspective and an upside and talent perspective, but the personnel to be able to say, look, this is how we're going to use these guys. Mahomes, we're going to try to get the best out of you and give you the talent around you so you guys can go out there and actually have a top offense in the league, which they haven't had the last couple of seasons. So if that means trading up in the draft to go get an offensive weapon, as much as I would love to see an edge rusher go early for Kansas City, if they identify a guy earlier in the draft and they feel like it's their opportunity to go out and get that, then I wouldn't be totally opposed to that taking place.
Yeah, it's fine to do it. They will have to make up for the defense not being as good. I know that I was wrong about that. Mitch Holthus was right last offseason, which shouldn't surprise anybody. I had major questions about the defense last year. Holthus told us he thought it might be able to be better, and it was real close to that. With the free agency losses this time around, that feels even less likely. And so, okay, now what do you do? Well, you're going to need to draft some defensive players. And look, their draft plan could be as simple, Tommy, as drafting a ton of defensive players, which kind of goes counter to what you just said. The offense, look, Hollywood, Rice, Worthy, Kelsey, that's enough if those guys play, right? We have questions about Rice's availability because of his off-the-field situation. We have questions about Kelsey's age and can he continue to replicate his production. And now we have questions about Worthy, even though I don't think that's going to be a factor based on everything that happened over the weekend. And he was arrested, but then charges were dropped very quickly. So I don't know on that one. We'll see if Felix Johnson has a take on that in the next hour. But if you can get at any point all of those players on the field at the same time, you're going to be good. But look, you can also draft a receiver because Hollywood's on a 1-year deal. And Rice is going to be an expensive free agent. I would say they're very unlikely to pay pretty soon because of his, decisions that he's made off the field. So maybe it is fine to just take another receiver. Who cares? If it's the best player, just take another one. But receivers come at a premium and they go early. So I don't know that it's likely a great receiver will fall. Everyone thinks Luther Burden will fall from Mizzou, but if he's really that good, I don't know if he's going to keep falling. Somebody could move up and get them too. So it's a possibility, but I think the offense on paper today looks better than it did a year ago, but that's assuming Isaiah Pacheco is healthy, something I don't think they should assume. And so I think they've got to address that. You got to be careful here. They got to be careful not to compromise depth, but I do think aggression in the draft. This is a good year to do it as much as they need a bunch of defensive players.
Yeah, and look, I think that from a wide receiver perspective, again, if you identify somebody that you feel like you can pair up with Rashee Rice, with Xavier Worthy, with Hollywood Brown, and in some combination with them, then yeah, look, I think that taking a swing at that to improve your skill positions, that's not going to be the worst case scenario, and it wouldn't overall shock me if they found a way to go maybe even wide receiver in the first round and maybe running back in the second round, I mean, look, there have been and I know they're all mock drafts, but there have been multiple mock drafts that have projected out the Chiefs going running back in the second round.
I don't hate that, but I don't
Judkins
like it.
And, other players like that are, graded out to be potentially second round picks. So that's been fairly consistent from a lot of the mock drafts that I've seen. They do have defensive needs, but they have fewer defensive needs now, again, that they were able to re-sign Nick Bolton and, get that taken care of. They need a pass rusher for sure. Assuming that a minute he was gone, more than likely he probably is. I don't think that they'll go secondary early on because they like the depth behind Justin Reed, but they could always go later round for a developmental type guy at safety that they could, throw in there to eventually, be a guy that
They've got it. I think they've
got depth. They've got depth at secondary, so I don't think they need to go early on in that. And really, with the move that they made with Jalen Moore, I don't think they need to necessarily go left tackle early in the draft. I would be okay with the mid rounder, in that position. So it could very well be skill positions early on. It could be wide receiver first and running back second. That wouldn't overall shock me.
I'd be okay if it was left tackle. Don't misunderstand. Still early. If they somehow get a player they like, I'd be just fine with that. But yeah, it's obviously not the urgent need. their needs are going to come on defense. They're going to need to replace defensive players. I don't think there's any question about that. It's what can they do something that helps them this year through the draft? I think the need for that has lessened. The most obvious place for that was at left tackle. Well, now pass rusher is going to be the place where they could make themselves, I think, markedly better for 2025, right? Not necessarily for the next, if they get better in 2025 through the draft, I think the two most obvious places they'll do that are at edge rusher or at running back, but I don't necessarily want them taking a running back in the first. I don't think they need to do that, but I think those are the two positions where they can get better that will help them next year. That doesn't mean I think that's the way that they have to or need to do it. They also have to think about the future.
I'm not okay with the running back in the first round.
No, not in the first. That's what I'm saying.
I don't like that. I don't think they'll do that.
I don't either. I'm just saying I think those are the two positions that, based on the roster we can foresee for next year, that could have the biggest impact next year, right? Would be a pass rusher. I think unless you don't believe in Suamataia or Wanye Morris being able to play left guard, you could say that's also a need. And interior linemen do sort of fall a lot of times in the draft. So you could attack it that way, but I feel like they have too much invested in those guys to not just give them every opportunity at left guard this year. I think you're more likely to see that position backed up later in the draft. Wide receiver gets the most interesting, I think, but it's almost certainly going to be an edge rusher. And so then you get into this, and the Chiefs have been here before. They will identify their position. They like edge rushers, right? They did it with Felix Anudike-Uzomah. They probably got it wrong, but they did it with him. They liked him, so they moved, and they overdrafted him, right? They took him earlier than he was projected. So they can do that at the spot that they are, because I think they have that wiggle room, or they can move up or down. Look, if they identify, this is what they did with Kingsley Suamataia last year, right? They liked Kingsley. They thought they could get him later, so they didn't take him with the first pick, and then they moved up a little bit to take him with their next pick, right? So it's all there. We're going to come back. We'll have Felix Johnson in to talk about it as well. When we return, though, top of the next hour, we're going to talk about some of the other NFL free agency moves that have been made. Don't go away. More Sports Daily right after this.
66 counties, 4 regions, and 1 weather team that you can trust. Find Storm Team 12 every weekday at 5:30 on the KSCW. Whatever the weather and wherever you are, Storm Team 12 is zooming in, going zone by zone to give you a more in-depth look at the forecast and some science behind the storms so you know more. We're focusing on the forecast so you can focus on what's important to you. Storm Team 12 Weather Focus, 5:30 on the KSCW.
The future of television has arrived. Next Gen TV is here with stunning video, movie theater quality sound, enhanced voice clarity, and interactive features, all upgradable for the future. Learn more at watchnextgentv.com.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea. With 20 plus flavors of sweet and unsweet iced tea, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite, or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say, drink tea, be happy.
It's the canvas of our imagination. They tell a story. Clouds affect the events of your day. Sometimes they growl, sometimes they inspire, but they're always the messengers of nature's mood, written in the sky. Storm Team 12 understands the language of clouds. We're dedicated to decoding their message so you know what to expect. Behind every cloud, there is a story waiting to be told. Trust Ross Jansen and Storm Team 12, alerting you first to the impact on your life.
When you need help, remember, you're not alone. We are here. We are neighbors. We are together. We are Kansas. We are 12 News.
They say,
What is GMFB overtime?
It's Peter, Jamie, Kyle, and Akbar breaking down the NFL 5 days a week.
It's okay to be excited.
It's this, that, and a whole lot of. It's football for everyone.
Weekdays at 10 a.m. on KSCW.
Are following a breaking update.
Every day, all day, stream the stories that have you talking near and far.
Whoever is behind the wheel of this bus is not stopping.
From hundreds of local reporters and meteorologists spanning the country.
Chaos here this morning at the UW campus.
Search LNL for the all-new Local News Live streaming app.
Make yourself known now.
310-01 in traffic pursuit.
Oh my God, here.
Investigate TV Plus begins with real people.
We investigate stories that impact you.
And inspire change every day.
Something is broken.
Real problems
Why are they hiding it?
and real solutions.
My daughter was dying in front of me.
What was your reaction when he said that?
Investigate TV Plus, weekdays at 3:30 p.m. on KWCH.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea. With 20 plus flavors of sweet and unsweet iced tea, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say drink tea, be happy.
Mornings are busy. We're here to make your mornings better. We report the stories that affect you.
3 more hospital lies from contaminated apple juice just a day after the FDA issue a recall.
We're here to make your mornings better.
Closing east and westbound lanes of K96 for repairs.
With 12 News, you're prepared for your whole day.
Scattered thunderstorms across the state into the afternoon.
Stay a step ahead with 12 News this morning on KWCH and KSCW.
Now, from Wichita's most listened to sports radio, 97.5 and 1240 KFH. This is Sports Daily with Jacob Albrock and Tommy Kester.
All right, welcome back in, everybody. It is Sports Daily here on KFH. Glad to be with you on the program. It is a fun day on the program because we've had the NFL free agency going absolutely ballistic over the one technical day. I believe that it's been open, but we've known a lot of this stuff for a little while. I said we'll talk K-State. Let's do that a little later. I said we'll talk some of these other NFL moves. We're going to have Felix Johnson in, and then we'll get into those. Let's talk K-State here first, Tommy. K-State plays tonight against Arizona State. They're favored by 5.5. I thought that was a little bit surprising. We had Wyatt Thompson did a nice job yesterday. K-State or Arizona State is dealing with some injuries. K-State is too, though. And with Coleman Hawkins hobbled, I was a little bit surprised to see them as 5.5-point favorites. But I think that if nothing else, it's a good sign to what might be going on with Arizona State at the moment. And so, look, K-State goes into the game. They need to get a win. They should win this game. I think it's that simple. They should at least win this game, right? And then take your shot in the next day. But win this game if you're K-State. Go out, play well. Like get some, not only win the game, right? Build some momentum tonight. Get some dang momentum going into the rest of the tournament. Because if they're going to do something special in the next round, If they're going to be able to go in and beat Baylor, which I think they can, it'd be nice to see them begin to get some of what they saw earlier in the year. I don't know what Coleman Hawkins is going to be able to give them. It kind of all depends on him, but let's go. Let's go.
Well, I think the biggest thing is that you cannot end this season. You can't go out with a sputter. And they already lost at home on senior day to Iowa State over the weekend. You can't let that compound. You can't let that snowball and completely take the wind out of your sails, go into the opening round of the Big 12 tournament and fall on your face and have an early exit. Because I think that, there was such a flash of just honestly greatness from this team not that long ago. And I know injuries happen and Coleman Hawkins has a freaking broken bone in his leg. Like, I understand all of that. And that, definitely has taken the wheels have fallen off a little bit from that regard. But you had a team that was in the conversation, at least, to make the NCAA tournament on the bubble. They had built themselves back up to that point with the 6-game winning streak in the middle of conference play. They were playing like one of the best teams in America at that point. The worst possible thing could be getting smacked around on senior day at home and following that up a couple of days later with a first round exit in the Big 12 tournament. So you absolutely have to avoid that. And Arizona State is a team that can be taken advantage of. They've had a disappointing season as well. They're under 500 as well. They've had injuries. They've had players been dismissed from their program the same way that Kansas State has. And so, like, some of those things have happened also to Arizona State. So you're dealing with a vulnerable team in the Sun Devils right now. You've got to take advantage of that, get the wheels back on, get back on track, and at least play to the next round of the Big 12 tournament tomorrow.
I hope K-State likes that wacky and zany floor. K-State's going to have to shoot it well. I think if they're going to do anything, they're going to have to shoot the three well this week. They've got guys that can do it, right? Brendan Hawson is as good when he's heated up at, shooting threes and letting it fly as anybody in the league. Doug McDaniel can certainly do that. The Joneses, they've got some dudes. They're going to have to shoot it well. I think, Tommy, if they're going to do anything special. The offense isn't going to come from Coleman Hawkins. You hope he can give you the glue, right, that he's given you and just sort of be everywhere a little bit. We talked yesterday about Doug McDaniel, and I thought it was a good point from Wyatt Thompson because he hasn't been scoring the way he was, but it's not for lack of effort. He just hasn't made a lot of the shots. So shot making, I think more than four. Let's talk about just to compare it to the other two teams we follow. K-State is going to be more reliant on shot making, I think, than KU or Wichita State, because I don't think we anticipate that KU or Wichita State's going to do that. That's not how they do it anyway. I think for K-State, they're going to have to hit shot. They're going to have to make jumpers, right? They're going to have to make threes if they're going to make a run, because that's where they're peaking, is when they have that element to their game. We've seen it, even they were playing bad early. They would keep themselves in games when they could hit threes. So that, I think, has to be watched here pretty closely. Can they come out of the gates and start to feel that groove a little bit? And yeah, just let Arizona State sort of implode on themselves, right? Don't be the team that has the letdown in this game, and I think you'll be fine. I think they did it against Iowa State the way they did. Iowa State's really good, but I hate that that's the last impression we have.
I agree with you. I mean, I hate that it's the last impression also. I was waiting for you to say something else. I thought you had more to talk about there. But I think that at the end of the day, because of both of these teams parallel each other to an extent, because they've both faced some of the same adversity over the course of this season. They split the season series. Of course, we know that Kansas State got the 1-point win at Arizona State, and then Arizona State goes to Manhattan and beats them by 12. So they've split the regular season series, and they absolutely, I think one of the major issues, and it's kind of to your point as well a little bit, down the stretch, the last couple of games when they fell off the cliff, when that winning streak went away, also compounding the Coleman Hawkins injury, is that both Doug McDaniel and Brendan Hausen have not shot the ball particularly well as of late. The last couple of games, they haven't been able to do that. McDaniel has shown up in other ways. He's looked pretty good assist-wise, and, he's not really turning the ball over a ton as of late, which is good. But the offensive threat, especially when you have, again, a hobbled Coleman Hawkins, really the main offensive threat the last couple of games has been David Gasson. I mean, he's been the only consistent offensive threat for the Wildcats over the last 3 or 4. And that's good, and they've needed him. They've absolutely had to have him. He's probably one of the most underrated players in the Big 12, especially offensively, because he's been able to consistently show up in double figures when nobody else on this team consistently has been able to do so over the last couple of weeks. They've just got to get more production from guys not named David Gasson if they want to have any shot of making a run in this tournament.
I agree. I completely. Whether it's Hassan, whether it's Doug, whether it's one of the Joneses, they'll have to shoot. What's a good number? What's a good number of made threes that we need them to is it 10?
Wait, what? You think K-State needs to make 10 threes in the game?
Yeah,
tonight?
8, 9, 10, yeah.
No, there's no chance they're going to do that. So if that's the expectation, then they're going to lose the game, because K-State is not going to make 10 threes in this game. That's insane. If they make 5 or 6, I think at that point you feel pretty good about their chances, but they're not going to make 10 threes in the game.
Let me go back to some of their stretches. Maybe I am overdoing that number. They made 10 against Iowa State in the win. What did they do against Kansas? They made 6. Okay, yeah. No, wait. Sorry, that was Kansas. They made 11 in the win over Kansas. I don't think I'm off on that. I think that's kind of their range when they have some of their biggest wins this year. Arizona.
I'm not saying that they can't, like, they're it's impossible for them to do that. I'm just saying that I don't think that's the expectation. I think
and I shouldn't let me rephrase that, because I should have said that they don't need to make that to beat Arizona State.
Yeah,
sorry,
that's their ceiling, I think.
They need to, if they're going to make a run. That let me rephrase that, because yes, that's crazy against Arizona. They can beat Arizona State with far fewer than that. If they're going to do something special in this tournament, I think that's kind of the range in these games they're going to need to be at. I think they're going to be at like 8, 9, 10 threes made to get some of the bigger wins that they'll need, probably starting with Baylor, honestly. But they don't need that to beat Arizona State.
Right.
But they need it in this tournament if they want to make a special run in this tournament. Like, I don't think they're beating these good teams, like the top half of the Big 12, if they don't shoot the 3 ball really well.
And that's my point. Like, they need additional production outside of David Gasson. And Gasson's been, again, great, the only consistent offensive threat. But, we need to see the Doug McDaniel from early February. We need to see the Brendan Housen from early February. Those two guys, especially. And it'd be great to even have a third option, and like Max Jones or somebody, be able to put up some points as well. They're going to need effective guard play. They've not had they're going to need effective offensive guard play, and they haven't had effective offensive guard play in a little bit now, and that's ultimately going to be extremely important for them, especially knowing that Hawkins is not 100%.
Yeah, so I'm just a quick browsing of that. All their best offensive games this year, it's led by the 3. Like, it's not. That's what I mean. Like, they have got to do that, and the guards, are the guys to do it, obviously. Doug, Hassan, Jones, Hawkins takes some, but I don't think they're counting on him for that. So I agree. It's got to be the guards, and they've got to shoot the ball well. Can they play that level of defense? We've seen it a few times, but I'm not counting on it like I am for KU or Wichita State. I'm gonna count on, if they win games, it's going to be through their offense. They play that game, Arizona. You got it here with us. 5:00 pregame coverage begins. It's the opener. Get things started the right way, man. It's going to be a bad taste if they get bumped in this game. Bad taste. Everything else after this game, I think, is acceptable for K-State fans. This one would not be acceptable. This would be a bad loss. People would not be happy about this one. So no pressure, K-State. Get it done tonight, and let's move on with our lives. All right, when we come back, Felix Johnson, our Chiefs insider, he'll help us navigate these Chiefs moves. We'll see what he thinks about our sort of two-pronged effect, plan A, plan B, that kind of thing. We'll do that next on Sports Daily. Don't go away.
66 counties, 4 regions, and 1 weather team that you can trust. Find Storm Team 12 every weekday at 5:30 on the KSCW. Whatever the weather and wherever you are, Storm Team 12 is zooming in, going zone by zone to give you a more in-depth look at the forecast and some science behind the storms so you know more. We're focusing on the forecast so you can focus on what's important to you. Storm Team 12 Weather Focus, 5:30 on the KSCW.
The future of television has arrived. Next Gen TV is here with stunning video, movie theater quality sound, enhanced voice clarity, and interactive features, all upgradable for the future. Learn more at watchnextgentv.com.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea. With 20 plus flavors of sweet and unsweet iced tea, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say, drink tea, be happy.
It's the canvas of our imagination. They tell a story. Clouds affect the events of your day. Sometimes they growl, sometimes they inspire, but they're always the messengers of nature's mood written in the sky. Storm Team 12 understands the language of clouds. We're dedicated to decoding their message so you know what to expect. Behind every cloud, there is a story waiting to be told. Trust Ross Jansen and Storm Team 12, alerting you first to the impact on your life.
When you need help, remember, you're not alone. We are here. We are neighbors. We are together. We are Kansas. We are 12 News.
They say,
What is GMFB overtime?
It's Peter, Jamie, Kyle, and Akbar breaking down the NFL 5 days a week.
It's okay to be excited.
It's this, that, and a whole lot of It's football for everyone.
Weekdays at 10 a.m. on KSCW.
Are following a breaking update.
Every day, all day, stream the stories that have you talking near and far.
Whoever is behind the wheel of this bus is not stopping.
From hundreds of local reporters and meteorologists spanning the country.
Chaos here this morning at the UW campus.
Search LNL for the all-new Local News Live streaming app.
Make yourself known now.
310-01 in traffic pursuit.
Oh my God, here.
Investigate TV Plus begins with real people.
We investigate stories that impact you.
And inspire change every day.
Something is broken.
Real problems.
Why are they hiding it?
And real solutions.
My daughter was dying in front of me.
What was your reaction when he said that?
Investigate TV Plus, weekdays at 3:30 p.m. on KWCH.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea. With 20 plus flavors of sweet and unsweet iced tea, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say, drink tea, be happy.
Mornings are busy. We're here to make your mornings better. We report the stories that affect you.
3 more hospital lies from contaminated apple juice just a day after the FDA issued a recall.
We're here to make your mornings better.
Closing east and westbound lanes of K96 for repairs.
With 12 News, you're prepared for your whole day.
Scattered thunderstorms across the state into the afternoon.
Stay a step ahead with 12 News this morning on KWCH and KSCW.
on KFH. And now, digging deeper with the teams you follow, it's another Sports Daily Insider interview on KFH.
All right, we welcome you back in here to Sports Daily, and we welcome in Felix Johnson, our Chiefs insider, as we get a flurry of Chiefs moves. Felix, we've been talking, as you can imagine, a lot about what the Chiefs have been up to here lately. I want to present you a plan A and plan B. A plan A is Ronnie Stanley. If plan B is then Jalen Moore, Hollywood Brown, and Nick Bolton, which plan do you prefer?
Honestly, I prefer plan B. I prefer a multitude of options for the Chiefs heading into 2025 as opposed to just one option that isn't going to really change anything offensively. It's just going to repair something that is broken, and hopefully things just kind of improve around it, which with the offensive line and the quarterback that you have, it could improve things massively, but it isn't something that is going to change the Kansas City Chiefs in 2025 to make them that much better. And it's going to be hard for them to be that much better in the regular season and for most of the postseason, honestly, because they were 15-2, and honestly, you can say 15-1 if you don't count that Broncos game at the end of the year. So it's about trying to figure out what the Chiefs can do to win the Super Bowl now. And at this point, they have to be more explosive offensively, and the only way to do that is to be more flexible in free agency like they have, and that's shown by not going after Ronnie Stanley.
I think to your point, Felix, it's going to be next to impossible, I think, for the Chiefs to get through the free agency period and look at the roster and say this roster is objectively better than what it was a season ago. I think that's next to impossible. They're going to have to fill in those gaps in the draft. And then, to your point, they're going to have to be more explosive offensively. And I think that some of that comes into game planning and scheming and the playbook and, different things like that they're going to probably have to revisit and take a look at going into this season. Do you think that, if as we fast forward, I know you don't have a crystal ball, but we get to week 1 of the regular season and we look at what the Chiefs trot out there on opening day, on opening night, is there a possibility that we can look at this team and say, yep, that's a better team than what they had out there on the field this season ago?
I think on paper for sure. I think going into opening day in 2024, you had Rashee Rice on the roster. You had the allure of Xavier Worthy's speed. Obviously, you knew Hollywood Brown was going to be out for a big chunk of the season, but you at least thought the offense was going to be better, and the offense was better in 2024 than it was in 2023, and we're just kind of letting the Super Bowl loss kind of cloud a little bit of that perception. But I think that we can find certain things where they're repairing certain things with signing a tackle in free agency, but also, and it's kind of the same question that I struggle with in the draft is like, who can fit on this roster? Where, and especially now where they've been so good in the secondary and on defense in general, who can kind of fit on this team? And now they're re-signing guys. It's like, who's going to fit on this team in the right spots? And they've figured out so far, we can plug this guy in here and then figure out in the draft whether or not we can play around with different players and different picks and moves and what they have done in the last few years. I think that's what's important to the Chiefs, is remaining as flexible as they can with the contracts that they have on their books already and what's going to be coming, like Trent McDuffie, and they just signed Creed Humphrey.
Yeah. I think that there's a really good chance the offense is better than it was last year. They just if people play that are supposed to play when they're supposed to play. In order for that to happen, Xavier Worthy has to be there. What do you make of what happened over the weekend? He was arrested. The charges were dropped. This is very different than Rashee Rice in that Rashee Rice admitted guilt. He's on camera. He's certainly going to get suspended. I know there's a legal process here and it's confusing, but just a gut reaction to the way the league handles this stuff. Do you think he's facing suspension here as it stands now?
I think being that first off, can the Chiefs ever have a normal offseason with their wide receivers and anybody ever again? Like, it doesn't matter.
Put them in a bubble. Have them live in a bubble during the offseason.
That's what I said. Travis Kelce needs to start a daycare for
Yeah.
Chiefs pass catchers.
I'm not even sure if he's the one to run it. I think Patrick Mahomes just is like, all right, you guys hang out in my pool house for this offseason. Just we're gonna throw every Wednesday or whatever. I think being that the charges were dropped so quickly and that like things just moved so quickly after the fact, it's kind of easy for the league to say, all right, the situation's been handled. The legal side of the situation's already been taken care of. What do we need to do? That's where I think things could be headed in that situation. In the case of Rashee Rice, we've talked about it over the last few weeks. It's going to be 4 games, 6 games, 8 games. Like you're saying, the offense is going to be better because guys are going to play, presumably. X amount of guys are going to miss X amount of games. I assume Xavier Ward is going to roll an ankle at some point, miss 2 games at some whatever. So I think you're right, Jacob, in saying that the Chiefs offense is going to be better just because guys probably will play.
Let's dive in a little bit, Felix, to the Jalen Moore signing from yesterday. Of course, Ronnie Stanley sticks around with the Ravens, and then the Chiefs get Jalen Moore on a 2-year, $30 million deal. He has limited experience or limited starts, at least at the NFL level at left tackle, but that's only because he was behind a Hall of Famer in Trent Williams in San Francisco. Clearly, the Chiefs like his upside. They like, the fact that they feel like he can slide into that role. And it's a fairly low-cost signing, especially considering the fact that just a couple of hours after the Jalen Moore signing, the Titans signed Dan Moore to a $50 million contract. And those guys are about the same age. It just so happened that Dan Moore started longer in Pittsburgh, and Jalen didn't do that in San Francisco. What do you make overall of the Jalen Moore signing? Do you feel like it's a cautiously optimistic type move? Do you think he projects the way that the Chiefs feel like he can slide in right away and be that full-time starter?
I think this is kind of a move to me where the Chiefs are saying we don't exactly see an option in the draft that is going to be our starter in 2025, whether that be at guard or tackle, right guard, right tackle, whatever the case may be. I think that being that they went after a veteran, I think this is kind of a sign of Brett Veach saying, I'm kind of done drafting offensive linemen for the next couple of years. Obviously, Creed Humphrey signed up for the next few years. You have Trey Smith. You'll figure that out after this coming year. And then Kingsley Suamataia, we talked about it. I've kind of been proven wrong, I guess, with this Jalen Moore signing. I think he's going to get pulled into the left guard position. So they've got a lot of their pieces there for the long term. And by long term, I mean 2 to 3 years. So I think that Brett Veach is saying, it's essentially saying, I can't draft offensive linemen because they've drafted a lot of them. They've Wanye Morris, Kingsley Suamataia. The only two that have worked out just got paid and franchise tagged. So I think that that's where the Chiefs are moving forward, is that we're just going to look for veterans to protect our quarterback moving forward, because that's the only thing that us as a scouting department and franchise can really focus on, because they're incredible at drafting defense. They're figuring out wide receiver. And when you have the quarterback right, everything just kind of falls into place. And so it's made everything a lot easier. But I think that's where the franchise is heading as a whole.
Yeah, I think their evaluations inside on the line have been great. They evaluated Joe Tooney. He obviously lived up to the hype. They've drafted him well. We'll see if Kingsley can play inside. It's those bookends that they've just been really bad at, and we'll see. What about the defense? So I think the offense is going to be better, which with the moves that we've seen, I kind of feel like there's maybe a little more urgency and need to draft defense heavy again, kind of repeat 2022, right? Because they don't really need a ton now. If everybody's healthy and everything on the offense, it looks pretty set here. But the defense is going to have holes because of it. And that's where, when we talk draft, I mean, it almost has to be pass rusher early now.
I'm thinking even more interior defensive line, and it depends on who you can find at 31. If that's where you're still drafting at, and they might trade up a little bit, like we've seen in the last few years. But I mean, the Chiefs overall, if you were to grade over the last 5 years, their offensive drafts and their defensive drafts, I'd probably give their their defensive drafts A- to A+, and then their offensive drafts, because Sky Moore is missed, because and it sucks because Rashee Rice, he's just missed time, but it's his second year. He missed most of his career so far. So I think that overall the Chiefs are better defensive drafters, so them drafting defense early makes me feel a little bit more comfortable, as opposed to them, like, even if they, I know a lot of people like Josh Connerly out of Oregon, if they would have went with him, immediately a little queasy about it just because it's another Chiefs offensive lineman. But if they draft some defensive end or defensive tackle at 31, oh yeah, they drafted George Karlaftis at 30. They drafted Trent McDuffie at 22. They've drafted defensive players late in the first round, where they've been drafting for the last near decade at this point, really well. And so I won't be surprised if they find another player that can be impactful. And especially with Tershawn Wharton leaving, that's a spot I would look at, because obviously Chris Jones is getting a lot of the attention. George Karlaftis is on the scene now. Depending on what they decide to do with, I'm not sure what happened with Charles Omenihu, if he's coming back or not. I
don't think he's made that decision. I don't think he's signed anywhere yet.
He's made his thoughts known on social. He's not.
Well,
happy.
there you go.
Yeah.
There you go. There's just been so much flying in. It's just whatever. But anyway, the Chiefs have a really good defensive line, and they can really emphasize that with another force by the interior. And they've paid everything else. They're going to have to start drafting defense. I agree with that point.
Let's talk running back a little bit. The other news yesterday, Elijah Mitchell signs a deal with the Chiefs to come over and play. Missed the entire 2024 season. I think everybody looks at him and they remember his rookie season in San Francisco and how he set the world on fire. Hasn't come anywhere close to that since 2021. I can't imagine that we look at the running back room as it stands right now. We know Samaje Perine is going back to the Bengals, so he won't be back. We don't know about Kareem Hunt. We don't know anything about that, but I have a hard time thinking that it's going to be Isaiah Pacheco and Elijah Mitchell and they call it good. Like they're going to have additional reinforcements in that running back room, whether it's through the draft or they find another low-cost free agent pickup. What do you think they do at running back?
I think it's probably going to be both. It's going to be a really, really small free agent pickup, like a Derek Gore or something like that. Probably won't make it out of training camp. But every single mock draft I've seen, but whether it be from my Arrowhead Addict colleagues or just whatever mock draft is out there, so it's like Devin Neal ending up with the Chiefs every time, which, as a person from Kansas, I'm not mad about, but he didn't have the greatest combine, whatever, keep it pushing. DJ Giddens saying, and he had a better combine, that'd be more interesting as an athletic prospect, just from my eyes. But then I think you're right in that they absolutely have to look at their running back room, and that Isaiah Pacheco, it's interesting because his rookie year was so interesting because he has such an interesting running style. He comes into the second year, gets hurt, and then he's not the same after the injury. And that's what you're worried about with running backs, is that when they get hurt, what happens after the fact? And hopefully it's not for 2, 3, 4 years that they get like a major injury, but he missed a large chunk of the season. And that's something that the Chiefs should look at. And I'm not saying that they're going to be trading up and drafting Ashton Genty, which I walked past him when I was in Indianapolis. I'm ridiculously tall, and I'm not even that tall. But he's 5'9". It's just kind of a fun thing, like, oh, he's going to the NFL. How about that? But then it's just kind of interesting to see what the Chiefs will do offensively, because they've made their bones defensively. They've re-signed Nick Bolton. They're obviously so young that everybody's mostly coming back anyway. They've signed their offensive line at 31. Are they drafting Luther Bolden? Are they Burton, excuse me. Are they drafting an interior defensive line? They have a little bit of flexibility at that spot because and then like what we're talking about, they can find more explosivity offensively with a running back in the later rounds, because they've addressed some of their issues already in free agency and what they already have as a good roster.
I think best player available. We talk about Pacheco, like everybody loves his violent running style, but the second we see it, it's like, well, he's going to get hurt. Like we could all see that coming. Like it's great. I love his violent running style too, but he's going to get hurt in the NFL. Like it just does never translate.
I think this was a question somebody asked Andy Reid in his press conference right when Isaiah Pacheco was starting to come back, is that how much can you put him out there and say, like, play, but also restrain yourself a little bit because you got the playoffs coming up, but also we want you to be out there giving us your all because you're a football player and everything. So he's such an interesting athlete in that you have to manage him in that you can only give him 15 snaps because he's going to give you 100% as opposed to 25 snaps at 75%.
And if he is inevitably hurt, I think to Tommy's point, like at some point, they're going to need to invest a little bit at that position. Clyde Edwards-Helaire left a bad taste in everybody's mouth. I get it. But there's a lot of good running backs in this class. If you're sitting there late in the first or the second, it's not what I would do in the first. But, man, if somebody's just staring you in the face, I think you could think about it. For sure in the second, you could think about it.
Well, and that's exactly the point we've talked about, is that the Chiefs roster is as good as it is. Who's going to be able to make it? You might as well be able to add your little exclamation points and little decorations to your offense if you can in the later rounds of the draft, and it might be via the running back position, which I would agree with. We've talked about over the last few weeks. They should start running the football more. Andy Reid just doesn't want to sometimes.
Well, they can too. I think that's the other point. They can, right? They just don't. All right, Felix, real quick before we let you go, who's had your favorite offseason so far?
Oh, man, that's a really good question. I think I like, and it's been a singular move. Actually, I'll give you two answers. The Lions going and getting DJ Reed. I like them going and making a win now move. They realize like we have some difficulties in our defense, and especially at the corner spot. Let's go and get a guy that can make some big plays for us there. And then on the other side of that move, I'm just a fan of Aaron Glenn saying, Aaron Rodgers, no. Devontae Adams, I'm just a fan of Aaron Glenn and the New York Jets. If like he might be the legit pivot point for this franchise, where he's just like, yeah, no, I'm done with the BS. I'm sorry if it's too early in the morning for those initials, but I'm done with that. But he's ready to go. I'm a big Aaron Glenn guy, even though defensive coaches haven't worked out necessarily. Especially for the Jets of all teams, but I'm excited for the Jets and what Aaron Glenn's just like, no, get out of here, dude.
Yeah, that's an interesting. That's outside the box. We're gonna discuss this further. Felix, appreciate all the great work as always. It has been impossible to keep up with all of it here in the early stages. We'll continue to digest it. You can find Felix's work at Field Vision. You can find it at Arrowhead Addict. You can follow him on social at Felix R. Johnson. Appreciate it, man.
Appreciate you guys. Have a good one.
There goes Felix. All kinds of good stuff. All kinds of good coverage there from Felix. It's, gosh. We're going to try to do this in the next segment as we branch ourselves out, but it's hard to keep.
It's going to be like the rapid fire round, just like not even really, like how about like we just run through the free agency tracker and just like one sentence response to everything that's happening.
Yeah, and so much. It's crazy, but like because I like to think of this stuff in like big picture, like what's everybody planning and thinking, and like, man, it's been crazy. It's been so fun though. I love it. We'll do that next on Sports Daily. Don't go away.
66 counties, 4 regions, and 1 weather team that you can trust. Find Storm Team 12 every weekday at 5:30 on the KSCW. Whatever the weather and wherever you are, Storm Team 12 is zooming in, going zone by zone to give you a more in-depth look at the forecast and some science behind the storms so you know more. We're focusing on the forecast so you can focus on what's important to you. Storm Team 12 Weather Focus, 5:30 on the KSCW.
The future of television has arrived. Next Gen TV is here with stunning video, movie theater quality sound, enhanced voice clarity, and interactive features, all upgradable for the future. Learn more at watchnextgentv.com.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea. With 20 plus flavors of sweet and unsweet iced tea, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite, or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, Tell them to come by and find out why we say, drink tea, be happy.
Is the canvas of our imagination. They tell a story. Clouds affect the events of your day. Sometimes they growl, sometimes they inspire, but they're always the messengers of nature's mood, written in the sky. Storm Team 12 understands the language of clouds. We're dedicated to decoding their message so you know what to expect. Behind every cloud, there is a story waiting to be told. Trust Ross Jansen and Storm Team 12, alerting you first to the impact on your life.
When you need help, remember, you're not alone. We are here. We are neighbors. We are together. We are Kansas. We are 12 News.
They say,
What is GMFB overtime?
It's Peter, Jamie, Kyle, and Akbar breaking down the NFL 5 days a week.
It's okay to be excited.
It's this, that, and a whole lot of It's football for everyone.
Weekdays at 10 a.m. on KSCW.
Are following a breaking update.
Every day, all day, stream the stories that have you talking near and far.
Whoever is behind the wheel of this bus is not stopping.
From hundreds of local reporters and meteorologists spanning the country.
Chaos here this morning at the UW campus.
Search LNL for the all-new Local News Live streaming app.
Make yourself known now.
310-01 in traffic pursuit.
Oh my God, here.
Investigate TV Plus begins with real people.
We investigate stories that impact you.
And inspire change every day.
Something is broken.
Real problems.
Why are they hiding it?
And real solutions.
My daughter was dying in front of me.
What was your reaction when he said that?
Investigate TV Plus, weekdays at 3:30 p.m. on KWCH.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea. With 20 plus flavors of sweet and unsweet iced tea, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say, drink tea, be happy.
Mornings are busy. We're here to make your mornings better. We report the stories that affect you.
3 more hospitalized from contaminated apple juice just a day after the FDA issue a recall.
We're here to make your mornings better.
Closing east and westbound lanes of K96 for repairs.
With 12 News, you're prepared for your whole day.
Scattered thunderstorms across the state into the afternoon.
Stay a step ahead with 12 News this morning on KWCH and KSCW.
Daily is on KFH.
Welcome back, everybody. Who's ready for allergy season? Just letting Tommy know. I should let the viewers of our video stream on Facebook, YouTube, and X know. If I disappear like off camera, it's because I'm probably like sneezing 46 times. I think I had yesterday, and I know this because my wife let me know how inconvenient it is for her. I think I had a run of 11 sneezes yesterday, Tommy. I'm not a one sneeze. We get into allergy season. I went 11 in a row yesterday. If you can imagine how fun that is for me.
Don't you love how something that is like a reflex, like you can't control it.
Yeah,
you're blamed for. Like it's just that's marriage, right? Like that's just part of marriage.
There's a great stand up. I'm gonna try to get this right. So the bit goes something to the effect of, people ask me what marriage is like, and I tell them, imagine sneezing and somebody from 3 rooms over screaming, "Why don't you just die already?" Like that's marriage in a nutshell. I laughed so hard at that because I felt it so much.
My favorite thing.
I love sneezing all day. It's great. It's fun.
If you could do it more often, you would. One of my favorite things about marriage is things that are not anybody's fault at all. Like they're just coincidences or things that just happen in day-to-day life have to be assigned blame. And 99% of that time, the blame is assigned to me. It's like, why is there a cloud in the sky? I don't know. That's your fault. Like just things that have there's no reason why it doesn't accomplish anything to blame somebody for it. They're just things that happen in day-to-day life, but they're my fault. And so I just take it on me. Like I'll take it. I'll put it on my shoulders.
Yeah.
I don't
you know
get
how
it.
you know how you get a tissue to dance, don't you, Tommy?
Tell me.
You put a little boogie in it. You've honestly never heard that one?
No, I have. I just was caught off guard because I didn't know we were going back to the allergy conversation. We had shifted to marriage. We took a right turn to marriage, and I was thinking I was in that.
I mean, I can give you a marriage joke. I that one popped into my head, and I didn't. It's better to catch you when you're unprepared.
Yeah, I wasn't prepared for a tissue joke.
Yeah,
in that moment.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, man, we love our wives. Marriage is fun. We love them a great deal, but just don't sneeze in front of them, or be sick ever for any reason, because it's inconvenient. All right, let's talk about this NFL free agency, Tommy. So the big one yesterday was an expected one, Sam Darnold. And when I say big, I mean financially big. Sam Darnold does go to the Seahawks. He gets paid. I think he earned it. That whole quarterback situation in Seattle, I've liked every part of it for everyone involved. I liked the Raiders and what they did to bring Geno over to reunite him with Pete Carroll. I like Seattle's shift to take a swing with Sam Darnold. I like the return they got for DK Metcalf. I like DK Metcalf for the Steelers. Like, I like all of it. Like, it all makes sense. I don't have a problem with it. Any piece of that little, like triangle of movement there. So Darnold was the big one yesterday. He earned it. We knew he was going to get it. The question was where, not if.
Yeah, and it's a $100 million deal, for him. And the way that he played for the Vikings, notwithstanding the final couple regular season games and the playoff game, he played really well. And I think proved that, he can be a viable starter in the NFL. And you know what? Shout out to him, because it wasn't that long ago that nobody thought that he was viable at all in the NFL. And he collected. He got paid. And I'm happy for him. I'm glad that he was able to do that. Is he the quarterback that can lead the Seahawks to a championship? I don't think so. But still, it's a nice deal for him, and he earned that deal. And so I know there were going to be a couple of teams that were vying for his services. And I think him going to Seattle signifies a little bit of a fresh start. And the fact that DK Metcalf has gone away and they cut Tyler Lockett, they're going to need to find Darnold some additional weapons. They've got JSN there. That's great. But they're going to need to get a little active, and probably through the draft, at identifying some additional weapons for Sam Darnold. But overall, I do like that move. I think that it's the right move, and the right place for Darnold to go. And the fact that he got paid, more power to him.
They got to get a little better on the line. So Felix, DJ Reed, another big one for the Lions to get a little better defensively. So two things for me. One, the Eagles have lost 2 members of their defensive line. That's good news for the rest of the league now. But I think that the Bears have been sneaky good this offseason. They had such a clear need, right? They go out and they sign the top center on the market, Drew Dahlman from the Falcons, and they've traded for Joe Tooney and I forget his name.
For the Jackson.
Yeah. So they've now brought in 3 new interior linemen to help. One of the most obvious needs in all of football was their offensive line, and what we saw Caleb Williams under fire and under siege last year, and they have been aggressive at it. I think they deserve a ton of credit. I think they do. And it's very obvious why, right? They bring in Ben Johnson. What has been the core of the Lions' success has been that offensive line. I mean, absolutely unequivocally. Here's what I would tell you. don't be surprised if the Bears aren't a sneaky play on somebody like Ashton Jeanty to try and let Ben Johnson recreate what he has in Detroit. What he had, I should say, in Detroit, because they've already got talented receivers there, right? We know that. They've got a dynamic, shiftier back. Don't be surprised if they don't do something like that, because it looks to me like they're trying to replicate what they have in Detroit.
Yeah, I think that they've been, I mean, obviously extremely aggressive in what they've been able to do in rebuilding that line. And the fact that, I think that, like you mentioned, it was a clear need, and they have been open about that. Like, I know you use the word sneaky, but at this point it's kind of been blown open. Like, they've been so aggressive and so vocal about, we need to go and rebuild that. And it makes sense, because you've got a guy like Caleb Williams, obviously, who's on his rookie deal. They think the world of him, clearly drafting him where they did, and all of that. They think that he's this franchise quarterback that can lead them to a championship. If you're not paying him a ton right now because he's on his rookie deal, then invest in the people who are protecting him. And they didn't have that a season ago. We saw flashes of what Caleb Williams can do. We saw flashes of what the future could potentially look like for the Bears. But it was apparent and obvious to everybody watching that they were lacking severely protection for him. And so if you don't have to pay him right now, pay the guys who are going to protect him. And that's exactly what the Bears are doing. They're investing in his protection.
And the other most obvious, I think, aggressive team that's made themselves better are the Commanders. The Laramie Tunsil trade. You want to talk about shoving it all in for this year. That's just a monumental trade for Tunsil. They brought in a bunch of free agents as well. They bring back Bobby Wagner. They go and they trade for Deebo Samuel. Like, they are trying to get there, and I applaud the effort. I would too. I get it. They're in that second-year window of a rookie quarterback with what Jaden Daniels did in his rookie year. Like, I think they're attacking it the right way. They've been the other most aggressive team for sure. I don't think there's anybody in the world that wouldn't tell you they don't like what they've done. Quarterbacks get interesting, Tommy. Justin Fields, right, to the Jets. Okay. Reunite him with Garrett Wilson. Like, I don't hate that. Okay, if you're going to be limited a little bit offensively because you're making some changes, having a running attack featuring Justin Fields and Breece Hall and still having Garrett Wilson, I don't hate it. They've got to get their defense back to where it once was, but I think it's a formula to win for them. I think they're really interesting with that. And then it leaves, of course, Aaron Rodgers. And isn't it the most obvious move in the world to get him in Pittsburgh?
Well, I think at this point, yeah. I mean, the options are getting limited, I think, for him. And the different landing spots that people have speculated for him, it's dwindled, right? Like, at one point there was conversations about the Rams. Well, that's not happening. Matthew Stafford got an extension there. I heard for a minute that Seattle was interested in him. Obviously, that's not happening now with Sam Darnold. The Raiders had been a topic of conversation. That's not happening because Geno Smith is now there. Like, so all these different options. I mean, really, what his options are dwindling now to Pittsburgh and the Giants, probably. And out of those two, come on, you're going to want to go and play for Mike Tomlin over Brian Daboll for sure, I would think, right?
The Giants are probably a little closer than I give them. I'm going to be fair to them. I don't give them any chance. They're probably a little better than I'm giving them credit for. And Aaron Rodgers would certainly settle that in. Malik Neighbors, I think they feel good about Tyrone Tracy, who they drafted. Their line's gotten a little bit better. They're probably better than I give them credit for. But if you're Rodgers and you're not trying to go somewhere you can win a Super Bowl, what are you even doing?
Well, and here's the other thing too. I don't think that the Steelers make that trade for DK Metcalf and pay DK Metcalf that money without the idea that they're upgrading at quarterback as well. And how much of an upgrade from Russell Wilson to Aaron Rodgers?
Unless they're thinking about bringing Russ back, right?
I get maybe reuniting Russ and DK, but at the same time, I don't know. I just think that you don't go and make that kind of premier move unless your plan is to try to lure Aaron Rodgers to Pittsburgh.
I agree. And you can't have Rodgers and Russell Wilson on the same team. That would be a disaster. So I agree. It makes the most sense. He's a cold weather quarterback, right? He has been forever. So that is something I think that matters for Pittsburgh for sure.
But I really like the Justin Fields move a lot.
I do too.
I've always liked Justin Fields, and I feel like he got a bad rap in Chicago because he was kind of cast aside for Caleb Williams. And I think that he never really had the opportunity to show totally what he could do in the NFL. I thought it was bonkers to me that the Bears rebuilt their offense around Justin Fields and then pivoted entirely, a complete 180 away from Justin Fields. And I was worried that he wasn't going to get another shot in the league to be a starting quarterback. And I think he can go into the Jets, and I think he can have success there with Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson.
I think it's a good fit. I don't think it's crazy to choose Caleb Williams over.
No, I'm not saying that. I just think that like they had invested so much in Justin Fields and then right away totally walked away from that.
Yeah. I think that if they'll just let him be what he is, which is, listen, he may be the most dynamic runner. I mean, he's right there with any of them when he's truly let loose as a runner, and he's at a place where he can, right? Like because they have Breece Hall and because they have honestly some depth behind Breece Hall and a receiver who's going to make any quarterback look better than they are in Garrett Wilson. I think they still need to do a little bit more at, probably receiver, whatever, but I'm with you. I think it's a good fit. I do think it's a good fit. So we'll see what happens with Rodgers now. It sure seems like Pittsburgh would be the spot. We still have a Brock Purdy situation to deal with. Apparently there's kind of an Anthony Richardson situation. They might want to bring in a veteran to push him. If not, maybe they're already done with that experiment. I don't know.
I wonder if that could, let's say Aaron Rodgers goes to the Steelers. Could Russell Wilson go to the Colts? Could he be that veteran guy that, is there with Anthony Richardson? I don't know. So. I know there's always been a knock on Wilson is he really a locker room guy? Is he really somebody that can help push along a young quarterback? I don't know. I'm not. I
think he's a cornball. But I don't think he's bad for a young quarterback. Especially, it's interesting with Richardson. They're not the same player, but for Russ to be as mobile as he was, not in running, but moving around in the pocket and just launching the ball down the field, it's not a bad guy to have in there with Richardson, because although Richardson has more of a running element to his game, definitely has the arm strength to do that kind of thing. So maybe, or maybe they just need a backup plan because they think they're pretty good and they don't want to put it all on Richardson's shoulders. We'll continue it throughout the week. There's still quarterback movement to come and lots of movement across the NFL. When we come back, a quick segment, we'll get you primed for the rest of the day here on Sports Day. Don't go away.